Hey, Brennan here, and this is channel advice on the week ahead, and this is for the week of October 14th through the 20th. I have channel messages that came through ahead of time from my spirit guides, the angels and source, that I'll be reading through, and my spirit guides, the angels and source, will be bringing through any additional information that's for your highest good as I'm reading through these, and I'll be working with my intuition on all this as well. So, one of the things they wanted me to get to before I started going through each of the bullet points, I guess, for this week coming up here, there was this question for you. So the question is, what can I focus on that will move the needle for me today? And you can use that for any time period. So what will it take, or sorry, what can I focus on that will move the needle for me today, this week, this month, this year, etc. They really emphasize this would be really good for you guys, and this would be a really good thing to potentially ask every day, or to at least consider it, or to at least use some form of that question that works for you, even if that's not the exact wording. Because sometimes people forget there are things that are going to make a difference for them to do each day or to do on a particular day. And if you're operating intuitively with what what needs me now is a weird question, but it's the words I heard. It's like, what needs me now? Or what's going to move the needle for me? Or what's going to make my life greater? And you're starting to operate intuitively from there instead of just, oh, I need to do my to-do list, or, oh, I need to force myself to do all this stuff. And, sometimes there are certain things, whether it's a deadline we need to hit, or things where, yeah, we need to wake up that day and we need to get something done. And that's just very logically the thing that's the best thing to do. And then there are other times where if we are operating more intuitively and more in flow like this, things kind of get done a bit more naturally and in the proper time. And there's a bit more ease, if not a lot more ease, or all the more ease, or something like that with everything. And you probably won't potentially have to stress about deadlines as much like that. Not necessarily a promise, if maybe it is best that we rest one day and work on the day of, something's due for something, depending on who you are and where you're at. Of course, approach that intuitively. So, number one here, they showed me the word melt. They said, a lot of the old world is melting away. A new beginning is birthing. Will you take the path Source presents? This showed up in channel messages on the month ahead. Sort of, there were some things that tied in with that showed up for this one on the week ahead. And it reminds me of how for this month, the path is going to be lit up for all of you is what I'm getting, but for many of you, at least in some particular way. And maybe it's a change of habit that needs to happen for you so you can have a better world or a better foundation for the life you'd like to live. Or maybe it's a particular job that Source is like, hey, over here, this is the best thing. And like 5 different friends are like, hey, why don't you take that job or something like that? And it's like, hello, ding dong, sign from the universe, or something like that. Like I'm getting the universe is going to be making it pretty obvious what you need to do. And theme or that thing is going to last for a stretch of time. It might not be like just this week and then you miss the window. Oh no, it could be like, hey, there's a couple months of things being lit up for us. Like, what's the next step? What's the lightest path? What's going to lead to the best for us? Even if it's not what we expect, which is why I'm going to recommend, based on what I'm hearing, to get out of your mind a little bit and go with your intuition if you can, if you're in the place to do that, and be like, okay, where am I being divinely guided to go? That might not be where my mind has attached or latched onto that. My mind is saying I need to do this because of this logical story, which may not be the truth of the situation if you check in intuitively or based on what your spirit guides are telling you or what Source is telling you or the angels are telling you, etc. That crew, your spirit team. So I'll read what else came through out of time here. Source is presenting you with a path of lightness and joy this week and in the future. Will you receive the opportunities, people, items, divine guidance, intuition, paths, work, jobs, ideas, etc., other things that bring lightness and joy? What is lighting up for you as a path to take? What are you being divinely guided to? There is a lightness on the way. And I like this little bit they added at the end here. There is lightness on the way, kind of regardless. That's just in the energetics upcoming for this crowd is just a lighter time or more lightness throughout your days or in certain. I'm getting it's more throughout your whole life. I was going to say something like, oh, it's just going to, maybe it's like going to sprinkle in certain areas. We're like, no, it's going to kind of start to pervade more, which is good. And especially if you're someone who's doing your work, you're going to have more lightness as well, just as a result of the work you're doing on yourself, whether it's energetic, like energy healing, or it's choosing more intuitively in your world, whatever that looks like for you. So all that to be said, can you follow the paths that are lighting up for you, the paths that Source might be presenting with you and saying, hey, take this, even if it's unexpected and not what you had in mind, it's going to lead to the best, is what I'm hearing to say here. So you guys probably get it by now. And so look for that path that's lighting up, whether it's signs from the universe saying over and over and over again, go here, whether it's your spirit guide saying, hey, do this thing, hey, try this thing. And I'm going to tell you, the more you follow that, the better things are going to get if you have it honed in, and you know how you operate with all that. Even with the little things that maybe in your mind you don't think will make a big difference, trust me, it will, is what I'm hearing to say to you, at least probably. And you might not realize what all the little things you're guided to do will add up to if you actually take action on them and do them. So I wouldn't put them off too much. I wouldn't be neglecting what you're hearing or seeing or getting. I'd really be taking action on implementing what your intuition is showing you or telling you, and what the universe is saying to you, okay? And what the universe is showing you in no uncertain terms. Number two, they showed me a lightning bug. The message is the landing of the new. So there is just so much new on the way. You just have to be open to receiving it, especially if you're someone who's a bit closed off and unwilling to receive things right now. So, do you accept the invitations to go out to new places? Do you allow new people a chance to see if they'd be a contribution and a fit for your world? Do you allow the new when it shows up? It's okay if it's uncomfortable. If it feels like, do it or receive it in, etc. So one thing I will say is, as far as like allowing new people a chance to see if they'd be a contribution and fit for your world, if you're in the place to do so, you can't just ask and get that information intuitively right away without having to go through the whole song and dance and rigmarole to see that, And aside from that, people will show you who they are pretty quickly if you pay attention, or they'll say something, or you'll just get an energy from them, or some way, shape, or form, however your intuition works. Like the universe will show you, especially now, and especially if you've done your personal work and you're doing your best to not operate unconsciously. And you could say choosing unconsciously is something along the lines of like you're not following your intuition, you're not following your divine guidance, you're not following your energetic awareness of, oh, this feels light, oh, this feels heavy, let's go to the light way. You're just choosing whatever based on whatever mental stories or unconscious beliefs other people handed you, or what maybe even religion has taught you is the right or wrong way to go. And I'm not saying anything you're choosing is a wrongness. I'm just saying if you're choosing unconsciously, you shouldn't be surprised if it doesn't always go well, as opposed to if you're choosing consciously and with awareness and with intuition and divine guidance. There's this thing that kind of occurred to me earlier today where in most instances, if you're operating unconsciously, you're kind of flying blind in the world. And that's not an overarching truth, maybe. Uh, But for most instances, you can probably see how that's true, where if you're not operating from your intuition, one of the examples I heard is it can be akin to walking around in a dark room with the lights off and you keep bumping into furniture and you're like, because you're not looking at what you're choosing, what that's going to create. You're just walking around in the dark room. But if you have your intuition, you're working consciously and with your awareness, with your divine guidance, etc. It's like having the lights turned on. So you know where the couch is. You know not to walk straight into the couch. You know, okay, I'm going to turn left here, and then I'm going to turn right, and then I'm going to sit down on the couch and enjoy it, or something like that. So, um, not to go on that whole rant. So it's just kind of, it's just something that popped in this morning, and I felt called to say it perhaps even if it wasn't exactly the perfect thing for every single one of you here. Couldn't hurt to have that in your awareness right now, I would say. So, anything else? I would just, going back to lightning bug, landing of the new, just be open to receive, be open to trying new things, be open to new ways of doing things, be open to new people potentially. And at least if you're not sure, it's usually okay to give things a shot and see if it's for you or not, and go from there. And at least you know. Um, so that's just something to keep in mind is like, are you allowing new to come in? Especially if you're saying you'd like to not be where you are. Are you willing to try new things, let new things in, uh, etc.? Should it be in the highest good? And should your intuition agree? Like we talked about earlier. Number three, identity leaving. It's time for new. So big themes around new showing up this week, and also treasure is on the way. Yay! So that's great. So, what identity do you have to let go of so you can have what you'd like to have? What do you identify with that it's time to let go of? And sit with that intuitively, or just see what the universe shows you after this. Maybe Maybe ask that of yourself today when you have some time to reflect, or channel on it if you channel and see what comes to you. Or again, just put it out to the universe, see what the universe brings your way to show you. So, an example that came through is, do you identify with, I don't think all of you will, do you identify with being poor? Do you identify with being only a small business person? And then maybe that holds you back from making the choices that could make you a big business person, you know? Do you identify with lack of success and you use that as an identity to get something else in your world? So, an example might be someone identifies with a lack of success, so they never need to try, and that way they avoid failing, yet they are just limiting their life. And that leads to couple of other conversations like, what if failure didn't have to be this big, terrible thing that you judged as awful? And if it happened, you're just like, okay, that didn't work. Let's choose something else. Or, okay, what would work here instead of that thing? Instead of, rolling in it for years and creating a whole story around it. It's just like, oh, interesting. What else can I choose now? So there's a bit more they'd like me to get to here. Like, what are you identifying with that's holding you back? Like, I think the small business example is an interesting one because there are a lot of people who might think something like, oh, I'm a small business owner. I'm like, okay, what if you started thinking like a big business owner? Or what if you started thinking with more possibility than just, I'm a small business owner, and small business people tend to, the projections and judgments and stories that might go along with that. They tend to choose this and they tend to act this way and they tend to complain about this on social media and they tend to behave this way and they tend to rue big business and things like that. And not all of them, of course. It's just, those are just a couple of ideas of how that identity could keep you from choosing the things that are more expansive for you. So, um, do you identify with never getting what you want? And how is that serving you? Like, what might you need to let go of to allow in the you you'd like to have in the world you'd like to have for yourself, or the life you'd like to have for yourself? They like life instead of world. You know what I mean, though. So number 4 here, Desert Storm was something they showed me. They just said there are a lot of clouds leaving this week, as in you're going to see what you need to do. Just do what you know you need to do next. You don't need to see 12 steps ahead to know what you need to do next. You just need to do. This is a do week, not a wait week. So that's kind of a key. This is a do week, not a wait week. So what is the step you've been neglecting that could start to move you forward and start to get you to where you'd like to go, and you're going to be seeing this a bit more clearly this week. When they gave me the message, the clouds are leaving, it was kind of like maybe not knowing where to go next is leaving, or confusion might be leaving, or lifting, or lack of clarity could be lifting. It's kind of like if there were a desert or sandstorm around you, cue Sandstorm by Darude or whatever. I forgot how to pronounce the artist name, but anyways, once that leaves, like, you can't see anything in the sandstorm physically usually. However, once it kind of clears, you're like, oh, here's where I am. Okay, I can see what's around me now. So, kind of like that is metaphorically what they're talking about in some area at least. So, just do what you know you need to do when you know you need to do it, and a lot will take care of itself if you do that. Instead of neglecting that, or not feeling like it one day, but you know you need to do it. And if you did do it, it would make your world greater, but you don't feel like it. And even though that resistance could just be something that's like, if you just overcame that, like, your whole life would get greater, when you push past that sometimes. And you can approach that intuitively on if it's for the highest good, do that or not. That's just something I'll say with that, though. Okay, so take the step you know you need to take when you know you need to take it. Number 5 here, if something sours, will you let it go? And like, one of the visuals I keep seeing with this is like moldy bread. It's like when, bread could be so delicious and so good. And if you're gluten free, then use something like fruit or some other example where it's just so good, so good. But if it just stays in your pantry, there's a certain point where it gets moldy, and there's not really a reason to hold on to it any longer. And what they're kind of talking about is, are there any life experiences like that for you, or even like relationships or job situations where it was like great for a time and it's kind of near the end of its lifespan metaphorically, and whatever that means for you, whatever way it's showing up for you, and it's gone a little bit sour as opposed to what it was in its prime, and it's kind of time to switch gears a little bit. And that's not true across the board. And sure, there are things that can be there and be great your whole life and be there with you your whole life. And we don't need to limit things into having shelf lives that didn't have shelf lives. Okay, just an example. So here's what. Are you willing to let go of the things you know you need to let go of, even if it seems painful, if you're ready to do it, if it will create greater for you? So I'll read what came through ahead of time. Not everything is meant to stay around forever. If something sours in your world, will you cling to it because of old memories, or will you let it go of it and allow new to come in? There's a certain letting go that needs to happen for this crowd. What old do you need to let go of so the new can come in? Is it a certain routine? Is it a habit? Is it a certain way of doing things? A person, a business, even a small habit? What is it? Ask Source to show you. You can always ask. So if you're not sure, I wouldn't rush to take the axe to your life and cut everyone out of it and be like, whoopsie. You can wait till you have 100% clarity on this before you're like, okay, this needs to go. Or you can ask for clarity from the universe before you just like, again, do something really rash with this information. Just pay attention to like, is there anything you get signs of sourness around in your life? After this reading, if there's something sours, will you let it go? Maybe you'll be talking to a friend and they've always kind of been judgmental of you, and maybe you didn't really even like the friendship. It was just kind of around and convenient at the time, and then like you're on the phone and every time you talk to them or someone mentions them, like sour warheads show up or something, like a something sour shows up, as a sign from the universe over and over and over again until you get the clear message like, wait a second, maybe that's trying to tell me something. And if you're newer to signs and synchronicities, don't force it. Don't force the connection if you're not sure. Kind of let it settle until you have clarity on it. And you know what you're about here. And if you don't, if you're someone who is already really intuitive and you channel, I would definitely also recommend you don't pretend you don't have awareness to, choose some things that you shouldn't choose. That's kind of choosing unconsciousness, like we kind of talked about earlier, or just going against your intuition or knowing, which never usually goes very well. Um, Usually, as far as like what would lead to the best results for you, we don't have to judge it as bad. It's just letting So what is soured for you that you can let go of now, even if you really used to cherish it and it's past its expiration date, is what I'm getting to say about this one. And it'll stick out to you. This isn't something you rush. You'll know, okay, is what I'm getting as well. And give it a couple weeks to percolate, okay, with this message if you're not sure right now. Some of you already know, some of you don't, okay? So don't rush this. And that's it. I might have they're showing me a ladybug. There might be some like extra messages that come through from them now that we're towards the end of this. Ladybug, there's all these messages of hope that's been coming through a lot, but Ladybug, the message I'm getting is hope. It's also lightness, joy. They're showing me friends. They're showing me the word funny as well. They're showing a bridge. And that's an important message for this week, especially for those of you who stuck around for the end of the video here. That's sometimes when these messages are for you with all that. What I'm getting is like you are in this kind of bridge period. So like things are transitioning. Maybe certain things, again, seem like they're melting away and you're not sure what's next. And like, that's okay. I would allow that and know that you'll cross this bridge and you'll get to this next point in your life soon where things are settled in a bit more, or you kind of clicked into what your life is supposed to be in the next phase. So I would allow things to transition. I wouldn't get attached to things right now. I wouldn't get attached to every little thing that comes your way. I'd kind of allow and let things flow and let things settle as they may, as well as following your intuition and what you're choosing and what directions you're going. And I just keep getting you're gonna get to the other side soon, to the next phase here, which is good. With Ladybug, it's just lightness and joy is on the way. You have good luck coming in is something I'm getting. So things going your way a bit more. They're also showing me the Wheel of Fortune tarot card and the concept of, I don't think we have to buy that this is how life works or force ourselves to buy the points of view that certain cycles have to work a certain way if it's going to create worse for us. And I'm going to have to explain that example. However, With the Wheel of Fortune, one way you can read it or interpret it, according to certain people, is like there are phases in life. Here we go. Where you're on the top of the wheel and things just go your way a bit more. Like things click for you. It's just more like good luck. You're not facing as much. It's like you're not swimming upstream. Like you have the stream coming with you. There's a bit more ease with everything. I'm getting that's where you are, or if that's what's coming in for most of you soon. And here's where I have to go a different direction with it is what if it doesn't have to be the case that things are good and then they're bad and then they're good and then they're bad and then they're good and then they're bad? What if things can just keep getting better? And what if we can unbuy the beliefs and points of view that create it as being having to be good and bad and be good and bad and good and bad and up and down and up and down? What if it can just keep going up? And one thing I read recently was this, and this felt true to me too, which is why I'm saying this. It was an interesting discovery intuitively where some people think you have to have an equal balance of happy and sad in your life. There's a lot of different ways you could run with this too. And that's just not true. That's like a weird programming and it doesn't even make sense. It's like it's absolutely possible to be in joy and happiness most of your life and be in that up place and not have to buy, oh, now I've been happy. Now I have to unconsciously, I now have to manifest it being sad for a week because I was happy all week or something like that. So, can you start to unbuy those limiting beliefs that things have to be good, bad, or there has to be an equal balance of it or an equal balance of happy and sad? And the other reason I'm talking about this, which is where the intuitive discovery went further, is a lot of people, well, at least some people I knew, would talk about life having to be ups and downs. They're like, life is ups and downs. Life is, well, okay, what are you creating when you say life is ups and downs? You're creating ups and downs. But I was getting, it doesn't have to be that way. I was getting it can just be up and up and up if you'll allow it to be. And some of you won't believe me, and that's fine. Have fun choosing your life through what you believe, potentially through the points of view you're buying and things like that. You can choose whatever you'd like, and I'm not here to save you from it. I'm not here to tell you you're wrong. I'm just saying, hey, what if this other thing over here is possible? And you can figure out how to choose that, and you can work with source on that. You can facilitate energy healing to choose that and things like that. So, what would it take for you to, if it's possible right now, and if it feels right to you and feels light to you, get off the up and down ride and choose the up and up ride, and get off the equal parts happy and sad ride and go to the happiness and joy most of the time, and maybe even all the time. I'm not going to limit it, but at least most of the time ride, if you want to call it a ride. And what if you don't have to have a phase where you're at the bottom of the Wheel of Fortune ever again, and you can always be at the top or in a greater place? Another thing I'm going to talk about, since we're on this whole topic, which I know we're kind of straying away from the main point of the video, but if this is going to help you, I'll talk about it anyways, is what it, because there's this story, that people have about tarot. It's like, oh, the fool's journey, and it's supposed to represent life. That feels heavy to me. What if there's a better way life can show up that's not limited to and stuck in the confines in and stuck in the limitations of the fool's journey and what the tarot cards represent? I know I'm pissing off some tarot readers here, and that's okay by me because I'm not going to live limited for a tarot reader's beliefs or anyone's beliefs. And it's definitely not to appease people's beliefs. And to me, it's just that's an interesting choice. That's an interesting way to look at it. I'm not saying you can't read accurately with tarot cards. I'm just saying, what if there's a greater possibility than the story we've been fed that life has to look like this and it has to fit into this box, and this story represents all of life? Like that just feels so confining and not true to me energetically when I look at that. Something better has to be possible. Like what if, again, what if we don't have to go through tower moment after tower moment after tower moment? What if we can be in happiness and joy most of our life? Things like that. What if we can just know and make choices based on our knowing instead of having to go through a bunch of tower moments because we didn't choose based on our knowing? All those kind of different things. I'm getting you guys get it. I feel like I'd be beating it to a pulp if I just kept talking about it. So take that as a possibility. Just maybe play with that a bit. Be like, what's true for me about all these things this dude just said in this video? Because all this is meant to make your life greater instead of limited or like everyone else's. And not everyone else probably has a life you'd actually like to live if you really looked at it. So, how can you choose the life you'd actually like to live? All right. Well, I'm getting that's enough of that. There's one more message actually. They're showing me a tarantula here. It's about shedding skin, and a lot of you are transforming. If you're still with me at this point in the video, huge time. So give yourself what you need. I would up your self care. I'd look at what's going to help you each day and just give that to yourself. And when you're on the other side of it, things are going to be better. Okay. So I'm wishing you well. I hope this did whatever was for your highest good, opens up some possibilities for you for your highest good, brings you to a better life if it's for the highest good. And if you'll choose that too. And if you'd ever like to go further with my work, you can go to my website, brandonhbloom.com. I have channeled and intuitive life coaching. I currently have channeled and intuitive readings, private readings available too, if you'd like to go further with me on that. I also have a lot of other things like the Let's Go Higher membership, which is a lot of channel content that goes out every month. A lot of great things the members say about how it's valuable to them in their life. So you can take a look at that on my website as well. I'm also currently selling crystals and intuited and channeled art with channeled energy healing symbols at valeuartandcrystals.com. And there'll be more info on that going out in my newsletter soon, or maybe it already went out by the time this video is public. Though you can check that out and see if there's anything that calls to you crystal wise or channeled symbol wise or art wise. And you could see if, see what that intuitively, see if any of that would contribute to what you'd like your life to be or would contribute to making your world and life greater for the highest good, should it be in the highest good. So I'm wishing you well. That's it for now, and I will see you in another video.